say one thing. The movie I went to Mexico, the budget was $4 million. Completely, and average $30 million, $40 million are going to Australia. So it's not always $100 million plus movies.
Why are they going to Australia?
They have a 40% tax incentive. So if you spend money there, you get 40% back for whatever you spend on locals. So what that does is locals get jobs, they develop skills. They use their Australia and New Zealand, Peter Jackson and Weta, their visual effects studios, and their beautiful locations. And now after really Peter Jackson and all of the Lord of the Rings, now, Fox goes there constantly. You can't keep them out of Australia because now they have crews that have been educated and you don't have to bring everybody with you. It's harder when you have to import people to a country that doesn't have a history of filmmaking, but that exists here, and there's a huge opportunity, I think, at even smaller budgets.
Mike, what about that?
Well, I think that the one talking about I don't know that it's realistic to talk about co-production where I'll use American investor because I'm an American. American investor is going to invest in Russian language co-production because it's just the market is here and it doesn't travel outside the border that much. But I think there is definitely a strong potential for co-production on let's call it international market films. I don't mean films that are just for the American market. And I think you can look at what's happening in France right now. There's 3 companies in particular I'd point out: EuropaCorp, Pathé, and Studio Canal, they're making films that they're fairly substantial budgets, anywhere from 30, 40, 50, 60, $70 million budgets. And they are in English, and they're meant for the French market and the world at large. And they have a cast that is pretty international and have stories that appeal to international audiences. So I think this is an area that, as an agency, my company is paying a lot of attention to these films. We didn't used to spend much time, dealing with that, but now we treat that international co-production market of that international type film as a buyer, as we would Warner Brothers, as we would Disney, as we would Universal, and we dedicate agents to covering those. So I think that is definitely an area for growth, and I think Russia is a natural place. The American people and the Russian people have a lot in common. There's a lot of interest. We have in the U.S. and in other places, we have not seen a lot of Russia outside of the kind of the art film. But the kind of the big spectacle kind of film the world hasn't seen a lot of it. And I think it's a very fertile area. I think we'll see. I know Timur is dedicating resources to this. We'll see a lot of these kind of films happening in the next few years. I'm excited about that.
I remember the Czech Republic went through a period where everyone went there. Why? Because they could make it look like Paris or London, or they could make it look like the 1700s, 1800s. Look at St. Petersburg. You could be anywhere. Timur, jump in, save us. make it come alive.
Well, I just want to say one last thing, and Lisa had brought up earlier, and again, this is what is going to drive American production to a particular country. It's all about the money. It's about the tax subsidy, and there was speaking of Prague is a good example. There was a period before, let's say, if you go back 15 years or so, there was a strong tax incentive out of the UK. There was movie after movie was made in the UK. Suddenly, Czech Republic passes a legislation that creates a 20% rebate, and because the English market was so saturated, had so much business going on, prices had gone up, people went and tried Prague. It was a great experience. Beautiful town, good restaurants, nice hotel, nice people. Boom, just like that, the business shifts to Prague. Prague has like a 10-year run where practically every movie shooting in Europe is in Prague. Then Germany passes tax legislation. Suddenly, one movie tries Berlin, it's a good experience. Now Berlin is the new Prague. So this is, we've seen Hungary Italy now has just passed legislation like that. So is France. So these kind of tax incentives definitely drive it. Inside the United States, it totally drives it. There's so many films being shot in Louisiana and Michigan now because they have great tax incentives. So that's one. I think that's a quick way to jumpstart co-production.
I just wanted to add a few words about co-production. The last 3 years, we have done everything we could in our company to establish this business, to produce something together with American studios, to learn, to share technologies, to learn about project development, marketing, film production. Our film called Black Thunderbolt, it competed with Avatar, and for me this was a unique experience because now it came out in China, 350 copies I think they bought. It's wide release in China, very wide release in China. Universal is launching an American remake of this film. The story has been created in Russia, but of course we based it on Universal experience in terms of script development. If you saw the film, you would understand that it follows the rules and the laws of American cinema. We did it consciously. We wanted to learn. It follows the rules of American cinema and at the same time following Goskino rules. And these two systems are very similar. They're based on similar principles, commercial principles. They have certain social responsibility because other types of film you can't sell in large volumes. So we're trying to share this experience. There are huge problems. I wanted to mention them. Basic problems. Unfortunately, what we need to do is we need to train people. We just don't have enough trained people. Whatever tax exemptions may be introduced, it's difficult to come here, not because we don't have specialists, but because we don't have people to make films at international standards. There are people who... We have one person who is prosthetics genius. He worked with me on the Universal film and everybody admired him. We have wonderful costume designers, we have fantastic computer graphic guys, but it's unstructured. And these people they can show a flea, but they don't know the rules. They cannot look after this whole process. We don't have competition board, we don't have film insurance in our country. The film would either be shot or not, nobody knows. So how can any investor give us any money if we can't guarantee that the film will actually be shot? If nobody can guarantee that it will be completed. So there are a lot of technical problems. I'm not saying that we should be trying to catch anyone up. I think we should be acting differently. As Mike said, we need to work. Any student can shoot a film using new technology. It could be a successful commercial film. Like Paranormal Activity was a successful project shot with a budget of several dozens. No, I don't know. It's, not a huge budget. And why did Michael Bay refuse 3D? Because you have to somehow rehash your brains. He just doesn't understand how to do that. People who are older, they just cannot change. This is a good time for us to make a new cinema, new films that don't exist in the world anymore. We're all on equal basis with everyone at the moment. We don't have to catch anyone up. Another matter of principle is that we have to train people. When we talked about Prague, the Prague effect, when Prague suddenly became terribly popular for filmmaking, don't forget that 100 young Czech beginners that knew nothing at all went to England for 6 months, where they worked in production companies in England, and the government gave them this contract, and then they came back and they were highly trained. They knew technologies, they understood how films are produced and marketed, and then when you come to Prague, you feel you are shooting in Los Angeles. The same people, they know how to do things. They're just cheaper than your specialists from Hollywood. Otherwise, everything's very comfortable for everyone and you can work properly. So there are a few things we need to do. Of course, we must generate new ideas. We mustn't copy. We must generate new ideas, and we must learn production technology, how to transfer money properly, how to organize relationship between people properly, how to ensure this process. We need to really, really be literate, which we are not. And the most important thing is the following. I'm convinced that any talk about Russian films, that Russian films can't travel across borders, that is nonsense. I think good films, they can travel. They can and will travel. A German viewer is no different, in any way different from a Russian viewer, because in Germany all films are dubbed. What does it matter whether you're watching Vladimir Mashkov? If we had 5 films where Mashkov was playing a superhero, saving the world, I'm sure he would be just as popular. If we had 5 films, young German viewers would hold Mashkov as a hero and would forget all about Bruce Willis. So it's just a question of supply. It's just a question of systemic supply of films, and it's a question of superheroes and building up the image and the industry. So I think we have a huge potential ahead of us. We live in amazing times where everything is changing, where everything is possible, where authority has crumbled. We just have to seize the moment. We have to do everything properly and act sensibly.